What if the pain you're living with isn't something you have to manage for the rest of your life, but something your body is begging you to understand and release? If you've ever been told your only option is surgery or medication, today's conversation will challenge everything you've accepted about healing. Our guest is Gary Mendelson, a neuromuscular therapist, health educator, and the owner of the Massage Garage in San Francisco. But before all that, Gary was a professional dancer on Broadway until pain took him off the stage. That was the beginning of his seventh career and a powerful pivot into understanding pain, healing it at the root, and teaching others how to participate in their own recovery. This episode is not just about pain relief, it's about listening to your body, partnering with it, and stepping into the truth that healing isn't passive, it's personal, and it's possible. But before we dive into this episode, y'all already know what time it is. Vibe with me, y'all. Welcome to the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. Y'all, welcome back to another episode of the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. This is the safe space where survival mode ends and your healing journey begins. So if you've been pushing through the pain, fatigue, bloating, or hormone chaos, I want you to know that your body isn't broken. It's speaking. Welcome to the Good Vibe Studio, Gary.
Hey there. Hey, Jovonnie. So glad to be here. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So your journey from Broadway to body mechanic is kind of incredible. So how did your own injury set the stage for the work you do now? You see what I did there? Set the stage. Come on, Gary.
I like that a lot. Actually, yeah, it's been a journey, that's for sure. You know, I learned the hard way, right? At 17, I was on Broadway, my very first Broadway show, and we were in rehearsals and in previews, and I did this hitch kick and wrenched my back, and I was on the ground just in pain, thought my life was over as a performer. The company manager sent me to this amazing massage therapist. I think he was actually a neuromuscular therapist at that time, but this is back in the 80s, and I don't think that was even a thing, but they sent me to him. He was Mikhail Baryshnikov's therapist, which is pretty awesome. I was impressed, but I was in pain. And I went to him, and miraculously, he worked on my back through my stomach. I found that to be really, really interesting. And what was even more interesting and amazing was I was up and dancing that same night. That's like the miraculous thing about it, right? And it was just crazy, right? And so that experience going from devastation to dancing in hours kind of defined my path. It defined my path to know that I don't have to live in pain, that there are resources available to me to get out of pain and not sit in it, not live in it, not say, you know, the biggest thing that I was thinking was, like I said, was I thought my life as a dancer, as a performer was over. Right? I thought, oh, shoot, it was kind of the story of a chorus line, right? And what are you going to do when you can't dance anymore? And so I learned, first of all, that experience just taught me, and it wasn't till another several years later that I actually became a neuromuscular therapist and health educator. But that guy, Armando Zattina, was in my brain the whole time as I was going through life. But I was just grateful that there I was, able to do what I love, right? That's the key too, to have work that we love, right? Because if I never, you know, if it doesn't feel like work, I'm never going to work another day in my life, right? I love that. Right. And I share that information with my kids and my clients.
So I think pain is something we can definitely all relate to. I don't know. I think I can. I know you can. If you are listening right now and you can relate to pain, debilitating pain, pain that just makes you feel like something that you used to do or that you just did that you probably will never get to do again, drop the word pain in the comments. For me, Gary, it was the debilitating pain that almost took my life. I was driving to work, and this pain just shot down on my right side, and it automatically made me slightly weak. And so I swerved into the lane, the right lane, beside me, and upcoming in that same lane was an 18-wheeler, and I had just enough strength to get my car back in the correct lane. And I didn't know why that pain hit. I didn't know what was going on with that pain. And it just felt abnormal. I had a similar experience with pain the night before. I couldn't get comfortable. The heating pad didn't work. The cold tile on the bathroom floor was just enough comfort just to not want to have to throw up or throw up again. And so when that pain hit again, I just knew something wasn't right. My nurse practitioner told me to go to the ER, the emergency room, because I needed imaging done. She needed to know what was happening on the inside. What could they actually see? And they ended up seeing a large cyst that was sitting on my right opening. And I'm thinking that that cyst ruptured, and that's what was causing the pain the night before and the day of. And so that pain kind of started leading into what ended up being a 4-hour surgery months later, in identifying stage 4 endometriosis, adenomyosis, polycystic ovary syndrome, and they found 2 small fibroids at the time of my surgery. At that point, it wasn't a hitch kick, which I've done those before, as someone who danced before the age of 2. But it was where I realized that my lifestyle and some of the things that I wasn't valuing and taking care of and addressing, but most importantly, Gary, I wasn't aware of, that was causing that debilitating pain, which was fueling inflammation. And something that I really liked about yours, so I just wanted to tell a little bit about my story after you shared yours. Hopefully now someone in the comments are telling us a little bit about their pain experience and can relate. And we bring this empathy into the conversation. Something that you said that really stood out to me was that you said that Armando, I think was the name, you said that he worked on my back through my stomach. As someone that's now a neuromuscular massage therapist, even though you didn't turn into the therapist immediately at 17 after, being able to get healed to a certain degree or have that pain be relieved to where you can get on the dance floor that night and get into the groove of things. What does that really mean? What do you mean he worked through my stomach to help my back?
I didn't know what it meant at the time, other than hallelujah, relief, and I'm able to dance again, right? And of course, at 17, I don't know much. I thought I knew everything. I thought I knew the world. I thought I knew everything, but I don't know much. But at that time, I realized how important healthcare was, how I need to listen to my body, right? Because I didn't always listen to it. And I was like, I'm young, I can go through it. This is the story I told myself, right? There's lots of stories we tell ourselves, right? When we get older, oh, it's because I'm older that this is happening, or just all different kinds of things that we put into our heads, these stories. And I talk a lot about that with my clients, and I'll get back to the question at hand, but I talk a lot about stories, how these stories that we tell ourselves, oftentimes they serve us at the time, right? But what they're doing is they're solidifying and they're strengthening this pain, right? It's like, anyway. And so there was
I like that one. I like that one, Gary. Stories can strengthen pain.
Yeah, it does. And I'll talk a little bit more about it as we get into it. But, oftentimes those stories, they they just, that big fish story. I don't know if you saw the movie Big Fish, but all of a sudden, my dad was a big fish storyteller. He was a big fisherman, and the first time he caught a fish, it was this small, and by years later, this fish was gigantic, right? You've heard those people, those people that I'm talking about. And if any of your viewers are watching, if you're that storyteller, oftentimes those stories they taking on a life of their own. Mm-hmm. And where did they take it to? Right here in our brains and then our bodies. And they manifest in our bodies and they strengthen it. And so there was a chiropractor friend of mine who did this wonderful talk on stories versus sensations. And I loved it. And it was great. And it's true, because those stories are so powerful, right? And we tell them all the time, we need to start taking time to notice the sensations, right? So I have a 1 minute challenge for everybody, right? I was going to do this at the end, but it's coming up now. And I want you to take just 1 minute to let go of the stories that, oh, I'm old, or I'm this, or I'm that. I want you to take a breath in. And I want you to put your hand somewhere on your body, anywhere on your body. I'm going to put it on my left shoulder. And I'm going to say, I am touching my left shoulder and it feels shaky. I want you to put your hand.
My left lower pelvic abdominal area, and it feels tight.
Fantastic. Move on. Do another part of your body, right? And take this time to just get in touch with your body, the feelings. Even if you don't know what that feeling is, it might be warm, it might be cold, the shoulder might be lifted, you might feel pain. But take that time, instead of saying, oh, my shoulders, it hurts again, or my shoulders that way because I'm always on my computer, or I'm playing tennis all the time, or whatever that is. Because every time we tell that story, it keeps strengthening it, right? So just taking the time during your day to get in touch with, to bring more body awareness, really. I always tell my clients, if I've brought you, if I've brought you more body awareness and that's all I've done, I feel like I've done my job.
I agree.
I'm going to give you a whole bunch more, right?
Yeah, I agree, because I feel like we're not as aware of our bodies. And sometimes we're not even as in touch with the stories that we're telling in regards to that too. Because if someone actually kind of gave that mirror and told you back the stories that you keep telling yourself, you probably wouldn't even want to own the identity that you've actually been out here portraying. And I think that's a big thing. Something that you said, Gary, was listen to my body. I think a lot of times we kind of want our body to listen more to us. This is what I want you to do. This is what I want you to look like. This is what, I feel like we need to be doing. I'm going to push through this pain because I have to do this for myself, or I have to do this for my kids, or I have to do this for work. So I'm pushing through the pain and I'm showing up. Yet I just need you body to carry me through the day, versus your body telling you something's not right. Something's not adding up. Something's not going on. And I just want to say, if you're that person right now and you're not quite sure where in your lifestyle could you be causing and fueling inflammation, fueling the pain, the fatigue, the bloating, I want you to look into the show notes and get the 15 hidden lifestyle disruptors guide that is absolutely free. But I want you to check out these 15 because you may just be doing some of these things, not realizing that it's strengthening that pain, like Gary just told us. Or you may not know that it might be fueling the pain, the bloating, the chaos that's happening into your body. And you can't help yourself if you just don't know. And so I want you to get curious enough of identifying what are these 15 healthy habits and lifestyle coach Jovonnie. And if you really want to get a little deeper, take the Spot Your Triggers quiz and identify the top 3 lifestyle disruptors that could be causing you pain. Why? Because your body is speaking to you. So Gary, what is that working through your stomach to get to someone's back? Have you done that before with clients?
Oh, I have done a lot of that. A lot of that, especially just people with chronic back pain, low back pain, lots of pelvic issues, pelvic floor issues as well. You know, first of all, where do these trigger points come from? Where do these muscle knots come from? Right? All of a sudden, a lot of people don't really understand, but to understand it, right? There's many different compressive forces that cause damage to our soft tissue, which activates these muscles or these trigger points in our bodies, right? So we have, I'll list them. We have injuries, accidents, surgeries. We have lack of sleep, oversleep, lack of exercise, overexercise, lack of eating, overeating. And then the number one compressive force, this is a question to all of you. Do you know what that number one compressive force is? Jovonnie, do you have a clue?
Okay, we got injuries, accidents, surgeries. We got sleep, we got exercise, we got eating.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for number 1.
The number one compressive force. I haven't mentioned it.
Don't tell me yet. Injuries, accidents, surgeries is 1. Sleep, exercise, eating. I'm going to go with stress.
You've shared, what?
I'm going to go with stress.
You got it.
Let's go.
That is the number one compressive force that causes damage to our soft tissue, activating trigger points in our bodies, AKA muscle knots, right? And so how does that happen? Right? And we talked about our brain, right? So as a neuromuscular therapist and health educator, my job is I deal with the nervous system and the muscular systems together, right? And through various modalities of massage, we're able to get people out of pain and then educate them on how to stay that way, right? Because not everybody listens. And even people who come to me, they don't listen, right? They just want to be fixed. Well, this is a collaboration. This isn't me telling you what you have to do, right? In the last 17, almost 18 years of doing what I'm doing, I give my clients so many suggestions. They can take them or not. There's no pressure, but you know, the reason why I give them to them is because I found that they work. That's the only reason. I'm not just giving them willy-nilly to just tell it to them or to hear myself speak. No, it's because they work. I've seen it work. Although I tout my intuition, I tout the work so much more because it works, right? And so I'm going to illustrate, if I may, I'm going to show you something, and I'm going to illustrate with this pillowcase how our muscles and how stress activates trigger points in our body. So this pillowcase, I'm going to move back a little bit, but this pillowcase represents our muscles, and our muscles are made up of bundles of fibers, and they're all spiraled like this pillowcase. So I'm going to illustrate with stress. But when a muscle's at its normal resting length, right, we've got optimal range of motion, great blood flow, and no impingement upon nerves. Okay, so I had a client who wanted to see me about 17 years ago when I first started doing this work, and they wanted to see me at 7:15. I was not a morning person at that time. Having been in the theater, it was like late nights, but I said yes. I said yes, and I was all excited. I live a little ways away from my office, and the night before I had a meeting, I turned off the sound of my little flip phone. I get home, I turn on my alarm clock in my flip phone, but I forgot to turn the sound back on. So needless to say, great night's sleep, Jovonnie. It was awesome. But at 7:16, my inner alarm clock wakes me up, and I see my client has called me 3 times. And I'm like, oh, shoot. I call her. She was really nice. Just get here when you can. Then I jump in the shower. There was no hot water that day. I'm like, shoot. Then I get out of the shower. I get dressed, and 10 minutes later, I call the cab because I didn't have a car at the time. And I'm like, this is what's happening to my muscle before I even walk out the door, right? What do you see happen to the muscle? What do you see happen to it?
All knotted up and tight.
Knotted
If y'all
up.
aren't tuned in on YouTube, make sure you come check the video version to see what Gary is actually showing. I see a knot real tight over here. On the other side, I see a hump risen because of the tightness on the right, my right, your left.
Right. Yeah. And it's shortened, right?
Definitely
It's
shortened and tight.
Tighter. And so now we have a dysfunctional muscle just because of that stress. Right? Good stress, bad stress, it's all stress nonetheless, right? It doesn't matter. But what's important to notice most of all is how now it's taking more space underneath the body's fascia. Right? So it's no longer linear, how it was when we first started, right? And it's taking more space. It's probably impinging upon a nerve, possibly creating numbness, tingling, right? And then it's also the blood flow isn't getting through, right? And our range of motion, we don't have the same ease of range of motion. So what's the first thing when you feel a tender, tight spot or this knot? What's the first thing that comes to mind for you to do, Jovonnie? Or write it in the comments if you. What's the first thing that you think of doing?
Rub on it.
Rub on it. What else?
Sometimes put heat on it, potentially.
Put heat. Okay. Good. What about stretching, right? Right. So a lot of people, and I was as a dancer, I thought stretching was the very first thing I should do. So I'm going to show you, of course, the people who aren't seeing the video can't see this, but I'm going to stretch it and let's see what happens. Ooh. You see what happens, Jovonnie? It's getting even tighter. Kind of like those Chinese finger tortures where you put your fingers in, the fibers lock, and you can't get the fingers out. That's the same thing that's happening to our muscle if we stretch it. So seeing that, we understand that stretching a tight muscle that has a knot in it isn't good at first. It's important to do, but not first. And then the next thing is, what about strengthening that muscle? What do you think about that? Because PTs are doctors, and nothing, I'm not going to talk bad about doctors or PTs. I think there's a place for them, and especially the good ones, right? But if you go to a PT, especially the ones that are in hospitals, due to cost containment, their job is to get you strong and out the door because they've got 100,000 other people, right? And so what's happening here is if they strengthen a dysfunctional muscle, the only thing they're strengthening is the dysfunction in the muscle. And that goes back to our discussion of stories versus sensations.
So let's kind of, I kind of want to go to this because I love this analogy. I love the visual too. I kind of want you to kind of talk a little bit about the difference between pain management and pain relief, because now that we have this tension in our shoulders due to the stress, I want you to kind of tell us what's the critical difference and what's being so overlooked with the traditional model when it comes to pain management and pain relief.
Sure. And so going back to that the PT, they're going to strengthen a dysfunctional muscle unless they really are taking the time, and they don't usually have the time, and they're only looking at one joint or one muscle. They're not looking at the person overall, right? Whereas a neuromuscular therapist like myself, we have the time, whether it's usually my first session with a client is 2 hours in length, right? Because I need to understand what issues have been going on, where they're at today, and where they want to be, right? And so taking the time to get to know the client, to understand what's going on is really important and key. So it's really important not to just stretch or strengthen a muscle, That's dysfunctional, but you want to, and you were right on target with, you want to warm the muscle tissue up first, then you want to re-educate, realign muscle fibers to go back to their normal resting length, and that's what is known as trigger point therapy. Then you want to stretch, then you want to strengthen, in that order. That's really key to that pain relief, right? And so the difference between pain management and pain relief, in my world, I'm not here. I am not here to fix anybody. I can rub you all I want, but if your brain and your body doesn't understand the mechanism of injury, what you're doing on a daily basis that's creating the pain, there's nothing we can do. And so if and you're just going to go back to doing that, you can go see a chiropractor. If a chiropractor doesn't do the soft tissue work first, and they don't do it at all, and they go adjust you, that tight muscle is just going to bring create a subluxation again. And so it's really key to open your mind, to be more willing to understand that there are other ways to do this. And so with the work that I do and with the clients that I have, it is a collaboration between them, me, and their other healthcare practitioners if they so choose, right? And so I have had great success with clients who come with me with pain. I do a lot of low back pain. I have a lot of plantar fasciitis, a lot of sciatica issues that oftentimes are from just ways people are sitting at their desk. And that's a big thing, right? Because our brain puts these neural patterns into our bodies, right? And I don't know about you, but for me, as babies, this is a good example. As babies, right? Our brain tells us that we need to, when we want to be picked up, pee, poop, cry, eat, our brain tells our bodies, let's raise our arms and go, wah, right? And hopefully someone comes and gets us. And they usually did. But then that moment we're in our big boy bed or big girl bed, right? And it's time to get up, and it's time to get up. My brain still says, wah, and no one comes to get me. All of a sudden, my brain is working differently to say, okay, little Gary, what muscles are we going to use today to get out of bed? To get out of this bed. And the brain figures it out like that, right? But I don't know about you, but I'm now 63, just turned 63 last week. I stubbed my toe. Man, it hurt. God, it hurts. And I just, I go to sleep. It's still hurting. The morning, all of a sudden, my brain is working overtime, saying, okay, Gary, what muscles are we going to use today to get out of bed? And so then I figure it out. But what's great about our body, and we need to listen to it, is that the muscles around that injured muscle, they come to the rescue and do what we call muscle splinting. Right? This muscle splinting is awesome, but it also creates an issue. It creates compensation. And it creates these new neural patterns in our brain that says, oh, I have to walk more on my left side instead of my right side because, and my right hip needs to hike up because I don't want to put weight onto it. Right? So it's a full body thing. And so what we're able to do through neuromuscular therapy is not only just to re-educate, realign muscle fibers to go back to their normal resting length, but we're also able to retrain, for lack of words, rewire the brain synapses to tell the body that it can do something that it either used to do or is capable of doing.
And why do you think that's the key to the lasting change, working with the nervous system as a part of this approach that you take with healing? Why do you think that's the key?
Yeah, you've got to change the brain synapses and the mindset, as you like to talk about, right? You talk about the mindset, and our mindset is retraining our brain, right? Not just always saying those stories, not solidifying and strengthening the pain, right? And so I've had great success. Sometimes a lot of clients say, "Oh my God, that's magic," and it's not. It's not. It's I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. It's purely getting the brain to start to work again, because when there's pain, the brain sends these nociceptors to that area, says, "Oh, okay, well, Robinson, danger, 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 and let's use this," right? And so I tell a lot of my clients, I tell all of my clients, excuse me, that we talk about their office space. Right. So your office space, where you are, I always ask them, is it in a desk? Is it a desk? Is it a sit stand desk? Are you outside? Are you walking? Are you sedentary? Right. And most of them, especially here in the Bay Area, are tech workers. And so we see a lot of people from the tech world who have what we call tech neck. And they come in and they say, "Oh, I have this amazing ergonomic chair, and it's that and this," and I'm like, you know what? I don't care how ergonomically correct that chair is or how expensive that ergonomic chair was. It's still a friggin' chair, and you're only using a certain amount of muscles to sit there 8 hours a day. Right? And so then I use the analogy of when you go to the gym. Do you go to the gym, Jovonnie, ever?
I don't. Not anymore.
Well,
I used to.
Many people, you used to?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you went to the gym, did you work out the same group of muscles every single time?
No.
No. And so what's really important is to switch it up. So on your desk, don't just sit there all day. Get up every 50 minutes. And then for 50 minutes, you stand. And then for 50 minutes, you can go back and sit. But you got to switch it up. Use all your muscles.
So I'm gonna say, y'all, write in the comments, get up. This is a reminder. That was the reminder for me that Gary just told me, is to get up. Get up more often than what you're already doing. And if you're somebody who's already moving around and doing a lot, maybe you can do the alternate and it's just be still. Do a little deep breathing, do a body scan, be aware of your body. Do those sensory activities that Gary taught us at the beginning of the episode if you're the opposite of it. But if you needed that reminder that Gary just told you, get up. Gary, you said you see a lot of people, you have a lot of clients that had low back pain. So if someone like me with endometriosis, adenomyosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome, some of my symptoms that some of the ways my body was speaking to me that I was not listening and was slightly ignoring was the low back pain. Low back pain, especially around the time when my menstrual cycle would be on. That would be one thing. Painful bowel movements would be another thing. Something after my surgery was I needed to do pelvic floor therapy. And I realized that adenomyosis on my left side, which I thought was ironic when you told us to touch a part of our body. I went for the left side. It's day one of my menstrual cycle today. So my abdominal pelvic area is already tight. like it's naturally tense. And it's like, okay, here goes Gary with the exercise reminding me that I need to relax. Can you share with us what some of those unprocessed emotions and stress in the body, what does that look like in the physical body, especially for those dealing with some of the conditions that I have, but just how does it show up in case someone who's not prone and has an ear to listen to their body, what is that looking like?
Wow. That's a loaded question, because it's different for it's going to be different for everybody, right? I don't claim to know. I'm not the be all end all of this work, and I don't have all the answers, but what does that look like?
Unprocessed emotions and stress. What does that look
Well,
like? You already showed us what that looks like.
Emotions. So when I work with clients, oftentimes they'll have what we call an emotional release.
Mm.
And so the emotional release, usually it's in the form of crying. Sometimes it can be in the form of laughing hysterically, talking incessantly, sweating, all sorts of different physiological things that are going on. But what that emotional release is, it's the body saying, I no longer need this.
Mm.
Why am I holding on to it? Right? It used to work at one point, but now we're holding on to it, and it's time to let go. And not everybody understands how to let go at the time when it's happening. Right? I mean, they come to me and all of a sudden there's a flare up and they're like, the biggest part, you said it earlier, was focus on your breath. Bring the breath and awareness to that area that you're having the pain or discomfort. Right? And easier said than done, I'm sure. Currently, I'm not in pain. I have low back myself as well, low back pain currently. That's deep, dull ache.
Mm.
Deep, dull ache, 99.9% of the time is old injury. Old injury. And of course, life accrues. It accrues in our body, right? It accrues in our body, and it's really something to take part in, right? Take part in your recovery of really listening. And so those are some of the things that kind of come up for me when you ask that question. One of the
And that's really good. If y'all missed it, it was crying, laughing, talking, sweating. And the big reminder that Gary told us is that the body's really just saying, I no longer need this. Here is your opportunity to decide to let me go. Let it go.
Let go with both hands, y'all.
Let it go. Focus on bringing breath and awareness to wherever in your body you are starting to feel something kind of rise up or come up when you're having this experience. And then he reminded us that sometimes that deep, dull ache could be old injury. And that's a place that you can say, you know what, maybe I need to go figure out what is the root cause of this, because clearly there's some type of lifestyle disruptor or a lifestyle habit or something that's happening that's triggering this experience for me. You talked about it before, Gary, and it wasn't in this conversation, but it was a conversation we had before, and you said healing isn't passive, it's something we participate in. What does that look like practically for someone listening right now?
Oh, yes. And it's challenging to stop and listen, right? I know the answers, oftentimes, but, I've watched and I've kind of looked at some of your podcasts and your story as well. And we oftentimes many people go here, go there. They see chiropractors, they see doctors, they see, therapists, they see this, they go to 12-step meetings, they go to, all this stuff. And, a lot of people are trying to get a lot of information to understand it, right? I know for me, that was really a big, big part. It can be confusing. It can get us really confused, right? When we do that. What's really important is really, first of all, your body better than anybody else. So listening to the body, as I was talking about, putting our hands on certain areas of our body to really let go of the stories and follow those sensations, is going to guide you. The work that I do, we're not here to, I don't diagnose. I can send you to other healthcare professionals if it's outside of my scope. I do, speaking for your issues and other people who have pelvic floor issues, I do outer pelvic floor work. There are many good pelvic floor, inner pelvic floor workers out there. Look for them. They're there. There
Just
is.
because you brought it up, Gary, and
Yes,
you're talking about pelvic floor, why do you feel like it's important for people to acknowledge and understand the importance of a pelvic floor, of your pelvic floor?
it is your core, baby. It's like where everything, second to your heart, right? And your brain. This is your core. This is what's going to help stabilize you. This is what's going to help you walk. This is what's going to help you sit and stand and carry yourself, right? The biggest thing that I want to make sure that I share with you, Jovonnie, is that, and many people talk about it, and that's hydration, right? So one of the things that just kind of came into my mind was around, I showed you how that our muscles get muscle knots in them, right? And how we don't have that full range of motion, right? Our muscles are, and our soft tissue is 80% water. From what I understand, made up of 80% water. One of your other guests said 99.9% water. So I'm not sure what I didn't, anyway, this is what I know. But anyway, 80% water. And so that water, if we want our muscles to have their full elasticity and plasticity, right, then we're taking away that plasticity by peeing, pooping, crying, sweating, right? And then also drinking diuretics like coffee or alcohol, right? All of these things that are depleting our body and our muscles and our tissue of the water, right? That it needs to have its full movement, right? We need to replenish that. So I heard it, this is the rule of thumb that I heard from a nutritionist, that you take your body weight in pounds, you cut it in half, and that is how many fluid ounces of clear decaf fluids one should drink per day.
Okay. Is juicing considered clear enough?
Hydration? As long as it's decaf, but careful of the juices that are high in sugar.
Gotcha. Just asking because you said it. So
yeah,
Gary kind of broke it down and extended a little bit more into hydration, which I'm really glad he hit on, because guess what? it's also a lifestyle disruptor, or a habit that could be fueling your pain, your fatigue, your bloating. And so make sure you get the guide and understand it. But the big point that I really love that Gary stood out, and he reminded us to get to know your body. He said healing isn't passive, it's active. And the way that you get active in your healing journey is that you get to know your body. Sometimes we get so caught up in the hustle and bustle of life, and we just go, go, go. And we have all of these external goals and things we want to accomplish, places we need to be, things we want to do, people we want to show up for, and memories that we're trying to make, creating moments. I just want you to remember to get to know your body. As you get to know your body, you start to love and care for yourself in a different way. You start to hear what your body is trying to tell you. And when you're able to be present for your body and for yourself, you're able to truly show up in a way that allows yourself to live life in a place not in survival, but in thrive mode. And so I hope you, if you don't take anything else from this conversation, get to know your body. That's the best way to be active in your healing journey. And so I'm really grateful that you shared that. Let's connect the dots, because you just brought in the drinking and the hydration. How do we eat, feel, think, show up in this muscular postural health field that you're in, Gary? How do we align and connect all of those dots together?
Well, like you said, healing's not passive. It is not passive. And the work that I do is not spa massage. It's not, people come in and it's like, oh my God. I have a couple who comes to me pretty regularly, and they tell me that they talk later on, how much did he hurt you? And I don't hurt them. I always tell my clients, you may feel with the work that I do, oftentimes clients may feel a sense of bruisiness afterwards. It's not that I beat them up. It's just that muscle unwinding process, right? And it can create that thing. But our bodies are so intelligent, right? They're not the enemy. They're not the enemy. And they're, the pain, the tension, the fatigue, it's not, it's not the enemy. They're the message.
And I'm glad you reminded us of that, Gary, because so many times people feel like their body is working against them versus that their body is showing up here to help them and want them to live a full life. And so I'm glad that you said that. Y'all drop that in the comments. Enemy. Your body is not your enemy. So drop enemy. Your body is here to be your friend. It's the one thing that you were given to walk through, carry through, go through this life together. But go ahead, Gary. You're connecting the dots.
Yeah, it's an invitation to slow down and listen and pivot, right?
Slow down.
It's information and an invitation, right? Listen to the body and really take your body up on that invitation, right? It's really, it's not everybody gets it.
And we kind of feel that way, Gary. And I'm glad that you said, I'm not your spa massage. That was really good to say it, because even after we get the massage, normally when people go get a spa massage, it's like, oh, I need to relax. And then after they get their massage, they're like, okay, I don't need to do anything too strenuous. I'm in a state of relaxation. I need to slow down. And I think it needs to be more of, I'm not just caring for myself. It's more so, what does my body need? What is happening in my body? What have I been going through? What do I need help with when it comes to really unwinding some of those muscles that have really been tensed and stressed out through several different factors. And so I'm really glad that you told us that it's information, but it's also invitation to slow down, connect, and be aware. For people pushing through pain or ignoring warning signs, what are some of those early signals they should be tuning into before things start to escalate and get to a part that is just like, whoa?
Yeah, so many people, oh, I can work through it. I can do this. That's the norm. That's the norm. But like I said, we usually know our bodies better than anybody else. We're living in them. Nobody else is living in them. Nobody else can tell us what we're feeling or how we're feeling. Bless you. And you know, and you know, my goal really is to help people feel better in the moment, but really to help them understand why they hurt. Right? Why am I hurting, and how to keep their bodies tuned up for the long haul, right? You know, this foundational work that you're going to do. Don't wait years and then all of a sudden, oh, I need to see a massage therapist or a neuromuscular therapist, right? Or another healthcare practitioner, right? The great thing about, I think, I'm tooting my own horn, but the thing that I love about neuromuscular work, and I have my own go-to girl who I go to, and it's really important for people to understand that, especially neuromuscular massage, but massage is a part of my healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a luxury. It's not a luxury. It's part of my healthcare. A lot of hospitals are starting to bring this in. In fact, just, I don't know how many, maybe 10 years ago, massage therapists here in San Francisco, California, were considered, are you ready? They were considered, oh, it just went out of my head. Oh my God. They were considered entertainment.
Whoa.
And that's not the right word. You know, the word masseuse will give you an idea of what we were considered, right? It wasn't considered healthcare. This is just 10 years ago.
I got you. So Gary, can you walk us through maybe three to five warning signs, and about what could people be looking for or thinking about before things escalate? And before you get into that, I hear a little echo. I don't know if the microphone dropped or a little bit. It's like a slight echo.
I had a piece of 3 to 5 signals, signs. Well, the first, of course, is pain, right? It might not be right away pain. It might be that feeling of something just doesn't feel right. Something just doesn't feel right. Or often it's kind of challenging because oftentimes, and it's different for everybody, right? When something is painful or not. But what it would be one, something's just not right. Then queasiness or like getting sweaty, foggy, brain fog, and of course those deep dull aches, right? We're like that we pass off as, oh, once again, back to those stories that we tell ourselves, oh, you know, it's just because I'm getting old.
I got it. So pain, 2, feeling off, 3, queasy or sweatiness, 4, brain fog, and 5, deep dull aches that we associate with some type of story that's only strengthening our pain. And so I really appreciate those warning signs and signals. And of course, like Gary said, these are just some that he knows people have experienced. It doesn't necessarily say that means you're going to experience them, but we just want to give you some context, some value for you to be able to know what you should be looking for and tuning into before things escalate into something bigger. And we just don't want you to ignore the messages that your body is speaking to you. Gary, you told me that you also use radial pressure wave therapy. What is that really, and how does it support the body's natural healing process?
Absolutely. Let me just get a little bit here. Basically what it is it's also known as shockwave therapy.
Okay.
And there's many different types of shockwave therapy. Originally, this particular type of shockwave therapy was known as lithotripsy. It was to help break up kidney stones.
Mm.
So this is the machine right there.
Okay.
Okay, that's what it looks like. But what it does is it helps break up dense. I wrote it down because I wanted to make sure that I told you correctly. And I've known about it for 7 years. It's been out for 20. I've had it in my office for almost a year now. I have experienced using it and getting it done for my hip and my low back as well. And it's miraculous. But so this is what it says. So helps break up dense adhesed tissue created by years of guarding, right? So that was that guarding that we were talking about earlier, right? That our body does. It creates scar tissue if there's no. This machine doesn't create scar tissue, but the guarding can create scar tissue of over time if it hasn't been treated. If we haven't realigned muscle fibers to go back to their normal resting length, right? And so
that's very important, y'all, that Gary's breaking that down, because if you're someone experiencing endometriosis, adenomyosis, there's scar tissue that's being agitating, things that are adhesions that are linking to other organs in the body. And so he's just letting you know how this potentially could be a healing modality or a tool utilized in neuromuscular therapy that could potentially help you if you're someone dealing with low back pain or hip pain. Go ahead, Gary.
Right, and so it's very little left, but what it also does, it increases circulation, reducing chronic trigger point activity, and accelerates soft tissue repair. And so that's the biggest thing. So one of the things that the radio pressure wave does is it's their acoustic sound waves is what it is, and it's kind of a little noisy when it's done. And you hear this little pip, tip, tap, 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 kind of thing. And it focuses on the tissue on the surface, and then it goes outward, in and out, and disperses. Whereas focus shock wave is different. It has a wide head on it, and it goes from outside and it goes deep down. Deeper into the body. So I don't, the radial pressure wave therapy does not go to the visceral organs, right? It is more surface. So that's what this does. But it creates small micro tears that activate the body's natural healing process to do it much quicker. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for breaking that down for us. So we're about to get into the vitality sparks round. All right, Gary. So quick, rapid fire responses. And let's just see how it leaves everyone feeling emotional depth and embodiment just based on your responses. All right, you ready?
I'll do my best.
What's one pain myth you wish everyone would let go of today?
I'm old and I've got to live with this.
I like it. Finish this sentence. Your body is trying to tell you
where it's at.
One small daily movement or practice you swear by to stay out of pain.
Move every single joint in your body 2 times a day.
If pain had a personality, what would it be trying to teach us?
I love that question. If it had a personality, it would say, I'm sticky. I don't like being here. I'm going to make your life miserable.
What's something someone could do today to start a conversation with their body, not just about it?
Once again, take notice of the sensation by putting your hand on a part of your body and just take notice as to what it feels like.
What's one truth you've learned in your 7th career that you wish you knew in your first career?
That's a hard one. What other people think of me is none of my business.
Final spark. Healing begins when?
Healing begins when we listen.
Good job. All right. So, final 2 questions, Gary. Give some advice to the girl dads, the father figures, role models, partner spouses of those dealing with pelvic pain, heavy periods, bloating, fatigue, endometriosis, adenomyosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome, fibroids. How could they be a part of the healing journey and support system?
2 things that come to mind. One is believe them. Believe them when they say, I'm hurting. Believe them. 2, go with them to their appointment. Go with them. Be a participant in their recovery too. You know, our diseases are not just for the person who's going through it, but they're family. It's a family disease. It affects all of us. And I know my husband had a double transplant, a kidney and a liver transplant, now 8 years ago. Wow. And I went to every single appointment with him. Now, I know for me, when I go to appointments and I go on my own and I hear something and they tell me one thing and I stop at that moment and that's all I hear. And the next 20 minutes, I don't hear a thing. So take notes for your partner. It's really key because they may not be able to hear it. And
I
so
like that. That's powerful.
hearing it differently may be exactly what they needed. That's going to be the thing that's going to save their life.
Yeah, I've heard of people saying bring someone with you because they might have more insight and information that you might forget to tell.
Right.
Also, it makes it harder for them to just treat you any kind of way when you have a witness or a support system and they know
Right.
you're not by yourself. But I never heard of it as they might tell you something and you're so stuck on something that they said that you're resonating with that you're no longer as present as you want to be to hear everything else, and they could be there to take those notes and be present. And so I really am grateful that you shared that. Last question. If you could have any meal with any historical figure, who would it be and what would you all eat?
I thought about this because I listened to all your other podcasts and I really thought about it. And I came up with Ida Ralph.
Okay.
Ida Ralph, I don't know if you know who she is, but she created Rolfing, what is known as Rolfing. So it's structural integration. And she was the founder of the Rolfing Institute. Anyway, being Rolfed is I could go into a whole bunch about it, but I won't. We don't have enough time. But I would go to dinner with her, and it would be very simple, a simple dinner. I'm a meat and potatoes guy. And I love me some ribs. I was brought up in the South in Florida, and my dad would bring home ribs at 1 a.m. in the morning because he had a nighttime job, and he'd wake us up. And if he didn't wake us up for ribs, he was in trouble. But anyway, it would be a very simple meal, maybe fish and some really nice vegetables, and always have to finish with something chocolate. So.
I like it. All right, Gary, let everybody know where they can find you.
Absolutely. TheMassageGarage.net is where you can find me on the internet, on the interwebs. And I'm on Facebook. It's on Facebook. It's on, I don't know if I'm on Instagram, but TheMassageGarage.net in San Francisco. And I'm here, so come and visit. If you have any questions, I tell my clients whether they come back to me or not to please use me as a resource. If I don't know the answer, I promise I won't make it up, but I'll help you find it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Gary. I really appreciate it. Y'all, most women don't realize they're living with lifestyle disruptors, habits, foods, or routines that are silently fueling inflammation, hormone chaos, fatigue, bloating, and pain. I know because I used to be one. My 15 hidden lifestyle disruptors guide and how to spot them breaks down exactly what's keeping your body in survival mode and the simple swaps that you can make today to start feeling lighter, calmer, and more energized. Head to the show notes and download your guide. And you could also take the Spot Your Triggers quiz if you really want to know what are those top 3 habits or those lifestyle disruptors that could be fueling your pain and fatigue. Y'all, it's your Healthy Habits and Lifestyle Coach Jovonnie, host of the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. Thanks for vibing with me, y'all.